Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you about the risk assessment that I do for my hens. One of the things that I have to do every month is go around my property and identify any weaknesses that might have popped up. And weaknesses can come about in a number of ways, but the very first thing I did when I bought this property and I got chickens is I walked around the property and I tried to identify the weaknesses of the property. I also took note of what the threats were. So from outside of my property, we have dogs right next door, 5 of them, and some cats. Over on this side, we had some feral cats. Frankly, out at the lake, we've got alligators. Right next door here, we have coyotes. It's a huge amount of acreage that has been known to have coyotes. Listen to the hawks right now. We obviously have hawks. I have not lost a hen to a hawk ever. I can tell you that they've tried. There have been numerous tries. I have been out in my lakeside and I've seen hawks swoop low, even with me standing there. So it happens. And you have to identify what can you do to mitigate risks like that.
What is it, Mama?
So there's a trick to identifying risks on your property. If you read Temple Grandin's book, Thinking in Pictures, I think that is an amazing story of somebody who could put herself into the mind of a cow. So she really inspired me. What I try to do is, number one, I get down on my hands and knees and I try to look around at what my hens are seeing. You got to get down on their level and look and see what they're seeing to identify what the risks are. Now I have 2 hens that have ulcerated eyes, meaning they pretty much have lost the vision in one eye. And my vet said it's due to an ulcer. Ulcers can happen from running into a stick. It could happen from papaya juice dripping in their eye. It could happen from an infection. We'll never know what caused my hens to lose their eyesight in their eyes. But because of that, I definitely have a risk. Those hens seem to know, stay out of open areas. I've decided to make somewhat of a series out of this because I go around my property during each season. The threats will change as the environment changes. So for example, in the winter, when the leaves have fallen, all of a sudden an area might not be appropriate for your hens to hang out under because maybe all the leaves fell and maybe they're wide open again. Maybe in the middle of the summer, it's not so much of a threat. So you have to identify areas of weakness as they change throughout the year and then mitigate those issues. I want my hens to be able to free range. That's very important to my permaculture yard. I want my property to have a wonderful source of nutrients. I want the chickens to be able to dig wherever they want. There's also risks that are different for large adult hens versus tiny babies. So like a small baby, I have a dedicated run. And even that had risks because, you got to identify that they can jump right through. When they're really small, they can go right through the chain link fence of the run. Come here, beautiful girl. Come on, Mama. She's so pretty. You are so pretty. You're my beautiful mama. This is one of my girls that's blind.
Gonna get up here with me? Oh, they're so pretty. You are so beautiful, Mama. You are so pretty. You wanna come up and get held? You wanna come up and get held? She's so pretty.
She wants me to hold her. She's a good mama. So at least once a month, you need to go around the various areas, trim things back where they need to be trimmed, get down on their level, look at the property, verify that you still have a very safe space for your girls.
No fussing, Mommy. You are not allowed to fuss. Do not fuss.
And try to make new spaces for them, especially as your flock changes. So for right now, I have some hens that are almost 3 months old. The mamas aren't necessarily allowing them to come into the adult zone. So they're kind of teenagers. They're little pullets at this point. So I've made spaces for them, additional spaces, so that they can hang out in those areas while the hens are hanging in their areas. And that's just the way it seems to work out. It's no different than adding another roost so that your baby hens have a place to roost. maybe not necessarily right next to the big girls.
Oh, she's a hugger, mama.
This little mama loves to get some hugs. Don't you, mama?
She's a pretty mama.
You have to take into account every different predator when you do this. Now, in my case, during the day, I only have one predator I'm dealing with. Well, sure, animals from outside of my property, that's an issue, but I have a fence to mitigate that risk. But I definitely have the predator of the hawks. The eagles, for whatever reason, do not want to even bother. They just mostly fish, and we do see a ton of bald eagles. They're around all the time.
Rooster, what?
So I hope you go around your own property and identify the weaknesses and the threats to your animals and livestock.
But she is a pretty mama, aren't you, girl? You are just so pretty. She is a pretty girl.
All right, you want to stand up here? You can stand up here. So I am going to make a separate playlist for this because I have gone around, I have done a lot of videos on walking my fence line, the area that's out in the evening, down by the lakeside, also getting my chicken superhighway cleaned up, the threats they might feel while sitting on their roosts at night, the threats they might feel while they're in their egg laying boxes. So these are all super important areas to consider.
All right, well, thanks, guys.
So I'm standing in an area right now that my hens absolutely love. It's their favorite place, and they hang out here pretty much every day.
Here they are. This is where they hang out during the afternoons, don't you, mamas? Mamas, do you hang out here in the afternoon? Is it one of your favorites?
And I'm talking all the way back. This is a favorite. I even have some of them underneath here sometimes. When I was looking for eggs, I found chickens. So what I like to do is take my clippers and I walk around my entire yard and I make little safe zones because hawks are my biggest fear for my hens. So I'm going to start in this area, just trimming up a little space for them. This is all stuff I just chopped down. All right, now that I have my clippers, it's super important that you go and make sure that nothing on eye level is going to poke your chicken in the eye. That's super important. So I know I want this to be kind of low so that the girls have space. So I can already see that there's an issue right here. There's a huge oak tree right there, and you can see that there are some pretty large branches that would be perfect for a hawk to sit on. So I planted this bush right here so that when I'm down here at chicken level, they're not going to see that tree. The hawk is not going to have an easy way to get at the chickens. This bush I planted specifically to give cover for my chickens. That's their favorite spot, and this gives them complete cover. I keep this, even though this is, oh, look at how pretty. Hello. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So even though this is really in an inconvenient location, this papaya, it is literally in one of my raised beds. It has to stay there because it's giving such a great cover for my hens right in their favorite little spot.
Little mamas, can I get through here? And I'm just going to trim some of this up just to give them more space.
I'm sorry, can I get in? So now I'm looking to see how easily accessible is it, because if there's a little bit of a chicken fight, I want them to have ways in and out of this area. Trim up. Mamas, just give it a little trim. This area, there's a way in right here. So a chicken can scramble in here, they can scramble here. they can scramble here. These are little walkways that they have, and they can get all back in here. This is their little hangout. And I mean, there are like 10 hens back in here right now. This is just a favorite place that they love to hang out. It's nice and safe and cozy. There. Now I'm gonna do one more check of this area. This is another area the hens love to get in. So what I try to do is just, again, make sure that they have space. So let me show you what it looks like now. I mean, Zella's already moving in. This is a perfect little safe spot. There is no way a hawk is gonna sit there and peer over the edge and then have space to dive bomb them. So, but that's why I don't trim this back. The tree branches provide such intense overhead protection for them, and a hawk can't land in that easily. It's not like it's got a horizontal branch for them to land on. Now, I want them to be able to go from there to here. And this is how they're doing it. So I'm just gonna start taking some clippings. Give them some space, and this is where I'm talking about. They need a little highway that leads from that large area to this area back here. See how this is a perfect little area for them to walk by now? And they can, but look what I noticed. And this is what you have to do when you're looking for threats in your yard. Look at that. There's a big hole. Some animal has taken up residence right here. And so if I just use this, I don't know what's living in here, but regardless, if that's going to get shoveled in and have a plant built right on top of it. And now, in case you weren't sure if that would make a difference, look at how it immediately got colonized. Little mamas got right in there, and they love that. Now I'm just going to go back through this side, and I'm going to check it from this angle and make sure that it's still good. So you can see that a hen walking through this branch is going to be in the way right here, and really this one and a couple others. So I'll just take those out so that they can have access to that full back area. This is such a nice, cozy place for chickens to hang out. Okay, so this is a perfect little walkway for the chickens. Now, because I had an animal that had dug right here, I'm just going to kind of fill this in a little bit more. And I will actually check this whole area over the next couple times. Now, I also go through and I check. Some of these are sharp plants. These are not sharp at all. So I don't have to like cut the tips of these. They're not in any way sharp against the chickens. These don't have points. So these are safe. So this is perfect for the hens to have a walk area. Another place my little mamas love to hang out. They love hanging out in here. And so look at how back here they have another chicken superhighway. And look, there's a chicken hanging out in it. That's my blind little mama. It goes all the way back and forth here. And I regularly get in here and just make sure that they have ingress and egress, and she does. Hello, mama. Look at her. She's all embarrassed. Little mama, do not fuss. Do not make a fussing sound, whatever you do. So, that's Ragamuffin. Ragamuffin. So this whole area is a chicken favorite. There's no doubt about it. not perfect for having in my area here. So I will just take, you know, normally I like to do chop and drop, but this is more, the chickens would rather lay in soft, cold dirt. So I will move all of this down to my compost heap. But because they dig in my compost heap, the roses I just cut back, I will put those directly in my garbage can because I can't risk them hurting their pads of their feet. If they dig onto a rose bush, they could easily get a thorn and end up with bumblefoot. Okay, let me go drop this at my compost heap. Hi, big girls. Those are my big girls. And remember how we trimmed up all back there? You can now see that. Oh, look at my mama. See, she has ingress and egress. And she's just going to lay right there in the entryway. And then that means we might need multiple ways to get in and out. Mamas. Fussy mamas. Look at those little mamas. They love this area. They just love it. Mamas. I use my man hands to open these up. That's from Seinfeld. It's nice because this stuff will grow back and people want papayas and I just give them these babies. Let me clean this up. I get the seeds out. Some of the mamas, they eat the seeds, they peck on the plant. And I give them 2 every day. Here. And I have to spread it out because somebody will just hog all of it. For the lower end, the girls that are not as high up in the pecking order, I try to give them their snacks. Like, I spread it all out. Come on, Mom, you want some? Go. Now, I'm going to take one to the babies. You want some papaya, little mamas? You want some papaya? They love it. And they like it when you hand feed them. That's how they know that they start to love you when you feed them. Oh, they're sweet babies. I'm going to cut things off now. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's. It's New Year's Day. And I hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve, and I wish you the most incredible 2022.